Original sales brochure lists this carriage clock as a one-day, half-hour strike repeater. Model name is the Conductor. There were two leather carrying cases available for them. One was red and the other was black. I'll be working on this Waterbury Carriage clock today. The owner had taken it to a clockmaker for servicing, then over a year later learned the clockmaker had passed away. When they got their clock back, it was missing a few pieces and in worse shape than when it was left. Oh, things are a bit loose on it. Glass has a chip in it here. This solder around this hole is where the mount for the missing bell used to be. Strike hammer is mislocated. It should be on the opposite side. Another chip on this piece of glass. Missing one of the top mounted decorative screw-on nuts. Remove the decorative top. Remove the top support piece. It's missing the minute hand. A lot of tarnish on it, but looks fairly complete. Wound up tight on the time side. Oh, interesting. It's missing the hairspring. The collet's here with part of the hairspring in it. There seems to be power to the pallet fork. I see possibilities if we can find a hairspring. I'll first inspect for pivot wear on the strike side rear plate, then move to the time side. This dull red color next to the second wheel, it's oxidized brass where the gold plating is missing. A lot of pivot movement here. Damaged gold plating around the third wheel, excessive pivot clearance. Missing gold plating around the fourth wheel, not so much pivot movement here. Fifth wheel pivot, which is the governor fan, has some pivot movement. It'll need a bushing. Center wheel on the time side. I've seen worse in service. I'll do a quick check of the front plate. Pallet fork needs a bushing. A tool mark. Someone has had a pair of pliers on it, probably bending the arm to adjust for pivot wear. Sign of a butcher here. Needs a bushing here. Maybe some hardened oil here. With that gone now, we can see the wear better. It's going to need some work to bring this back to working condition. Locking spring for the snail. Tool marks. Someone has had a pair of pliers on the gathering wheel. Take a close look at these pivots. This one needs polishing. Heavy wear on this one. It's going to need to be recut, then polished. Pallet fork pivot is bent. With this setup, I'll be able to straighten it. If the pivot breaks, then I'll just repivot it. This brass tool will prevent the pivot from getting tool marks on the pivot surface. All polished, turned out just fine. A butchered wheel. Should be able to straighten it. Pivot is running nice and true, so time to straighten the wheel. Should work just fine now. I've straightened, recut, and polished all the pivots that needed it. Time to install bushings. This pivot hole being so close to the edge is going to need to be a thin-walled bushing. Ream the hole out. Now to install the bushing. Broach it out to size. Now to bush the pallet fork pivots. It's also going to need to be a thin-walled bushing. Now to repair the attachment point for the bell. Clean off the oxidation from the old solder. Abrade the surface of this brass nut for soldering. Tin the surface of the nut. This improves heat transfer, prevents oxidation and corrosion, and makes the final solder joint easier to create. This rolled paper helps center the nut with the original hole in the base. It didn't take much heat, and I can see where the solder flowed in the hole on this side. It fits nicely. Now just need to locate a bell. I found an issue here concerning the cam on the center wheel. The lift tab on the lifting arm has been butchered. It no longer functions as designed. There's nothing here to ride against the lift cam on the center wheel, so it will never strike like this. The tab has been bent straight at this point, and the arm has been mislocated. It should be located where it can contact the lift cam on the center wheel. It's going to need to be repositioned and the tab reshaped back to the original design. Looking here at the spring slot cut in the brass, you can see the spring slot is mislocated on the lift arm. It needs to be rotated to align with the rest of the slots. The arm needs to be positioned so it lines up with the notch in this arm here. It's quite snug here. All the cut slots line up, so this part is good to go. Now to bend the tab and hope it doesn't break in doing so. It needs to go through this cutout. It needs to spring away like this, so when the clock hands are turned backwards, it doesn't lock up on the tab. This tab here is for manual operation. Now when I rotate the center wheel forward, the cam will contact the tab and lift the lever. And when rotated backwards, the lever springs up and away, functions just as designed now. The manual activation lever works good. This spring locks the snail in the striking position on the hour for the rack tail. I remember seeing a bell for this case somewhere in my stock. Looks like a direct replacement. It's going to sound good in here. Movement is all assembled. Just need to oil the rear plate pivots and install the balance wheel. Looks good so far. Oil the balance wheel cone pivots. I was able to locate a balance complete with hairspring. Time to see how it performs. A nice Waterbury miniature carriage clock, patented in 1891, striking and keeping time again.